I've been practicing for 32 years, right? Which it's really crazy for me to think about that. 32 years. And, probably the first 10 to 15 years of my life of planning with clients, we were having these conversations. It was typically around debt. And the discussion would go something like this. Client has a mortgage has $100,000, the interest rate might be 4%. Should they just pay it off? That's the typical question. And you'd go through let's work through the math, right? That 4% mortgage is very cheap relative to what the portfolio is going to grow by. Plus, you're getting a tax deduction for it. So financially speaking, it's in your best interest to keep it. But psychologically, if you really want to just pay it off, if we assume that in your financial projections, you just pay it off today, it doesn't derail your long-term financial security. Yeah, you're giving up, probably accumulating more wealth, but you gained peace of mind. So that was kind of a life planning discussion in the 90s before life planning was really doing anything. Every advisor was having that discussion. And when I was doing those discussions in my head, I'm thinking, why would anyone do this? The financial implications are so clear and obvious. Why? And as I've aged, I look back on that and I'm like, well, that was a really, strict way to think about that, John. The financial implications, yeah, it's important to understand. But that is not at all what personal financial planning should be about, right? It's personal. If it were just financial planning, that's all it is, finance. But it's personal. And so I guess I began, maybe it was when my daughter turned 16, where it was like this light bulb went off in my brain. All of the financial weight that I put on all of the decision making and all of the modeling that I do with clients changed. And it all started because of a car. And so I'm sitting there with my daughter. She's learning to drive. And up until that point, I had the old approach of you buy a cheap, beat up, used car. Child is going to drive that. I don't care if the wheels fall off because it's likely going to get beaten to heck in the high school parking lot and in parallel parking or whatever it is. That was what I assumed. And the moment I saw her sit behind the wheel, nope, she is going to be driving a reliable, very sturdy car, which meant I wasn't going to be trying to find a beater. I was going to find a very high quality used, I'm not silly, used car, but something that I knew if she were at a football game across town and it's 10 o'clock at night, that I was reasonably assured it was going to start. And if she was in an accident, I wanted to be reasonably assured this thing had enough updated safety features that she would be more likely to be safe in that car. And from that moment, almost every financial decision that I've evaluated personally is probably 80% personal, life planning-esque, 20% financial. Everything. And I'm finding when I'm working with clients that I'm infusing more of that, whether it's around gifting to children, clients who want to make gifts. How do you do it without maybe creating an expectation from a child that they're going to get this every single year? How do you navigate the client's personal desires more so than I'm navigating the financial? I can navigate the financial very easily. But the personal stuff is so much more challenging and more interesting. So I really have been reflecting lately on all of these decisions I've made that are financial in nature, but I'm making them more from a personal perspective, from a life planning perspective. And if a financial person were to just look at them and not know that I was a financial advisor, they might be like, why in the world is this guy doing that? This is not the best financial decision. You're right. But it's the best peace of mind decision for me, for where I am, and for how I've kind of grown and developed. So it's kind of like, anyone who goes through school, you come out, you're book smart. And then eventually you kind of become more practically smart of how to apply all that book knowledge. Well, I think now it's kind of weird because it's more, I'm practically emotionally smarter than I was. So now I'm trying to practically emotionally apply all of these thoughts and perspectives onto financial decisions. And so I've been doing that a lot lately, and it all started with the 16-year-old daughter learning to drive.